My name is Béatrice Gilbert, and as you probably know by now, I'm a third-year business student at Cégep Champlain-Saint-Lawrence. The goal of this project is to show you how Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and Access are increasing productivity in daily business activities. At the start of this project, I knew very little about our world's technologies. It has been proven that we know next to nothing about the tools that we can use to render our work easier. Although, every student that have attended the computer class have said at start that they already knew about Excel and Word. But little did we knew that Excel is not a simple data entry software, and that Word's sole purpose is not mainly to write a plain Calibri size 12 text. Then, when we heard of PowerPoint, we thought, oh God, not a photo album again. But in the first two courses, we truly learn how to use the software at its full capacity. Access. We think of it as the database that our grandparents used prior, but we also saw that it is still very up to date. I suggest that you take a look at my blog, where I have added articles about the usage of Access in today's world. In these articles, you're going to find out that it's not only the government that still uses it today. In this video, you're going to see 3 modules related to Access: Module 8, Module 9, and Module 10, as Module 11 was only readings. For each one of them, I'm going to explain how these modules relate to important aspects of Access and explain how these tools can be used in real business life. Then, I'm going to relate all of them to my project. For this one, I created a database from scratch and added information about my company. Before we begin, if you ever have questions about the previous modules related to Word and Access, feel free to check the previous videos and texts that are available on my website and my blog. There are plenty of useful information there. Alright, so let's start with Module 8. Module 8 is really important to understand and to grasp, as it relates to macros and creating a main menu or a first page, however you want to call it. When you hear the word macro, you think of something complicated, but today I'm going to prove you wrong, as I'm going to show you that it's very easy to manage and create, and that it is very efficient. To better explain the purpose of a macro, let's see what Microsoft thinks about it. A macro in Access is a tool that allows you to automate tasks and add functionality to your forms, report, and controls. For example, if you add a comment button to a form, you associate the button's on-click event to a macro, and the macro contains the command that you want the button to perform each time it is clicked. In Access, it is helpful to think of macros as a simplified programming language that you write by building a list of actions to perform. When you build a macro, you select each actions from a drop-down list and then fill in the required information for each actions. Macros enable you to add functionality to forms, reports, and controls without writing the code in a Visual Basic for Application, better known as VBA modules. Macros provide a subset for the commands that are available in VBA, and most people find it easier to build a macro than to write the VBA code. Then, as we talked about forms and main menus in Microsoft's explanation of macros, it is important to understand that the main menu is the first thing that you're going to see when you open your database. You will see in the following module how to name a form or a table to open first. If we take a quick look at what I did in my module, you can see that I have created 3 macros that are pre-programmed to open the employee list table, the partnerships and donation table, and the product list table. These 3 were set to open in read-only and print preview. Then, I have created a blank form to add my 3 distinct buttons. This is something that I didn't understood properly at first. You have to create a distinct form for your buttons and then link it to your main menu instead of trying to add them directly to the main menu page. After, it was pretty easy to create the main menu and to link the desired forms and tables. As you can see in this module, I have only linked the quick access to my buttons, but I could have added any tables or form that I wanted to have a quick access to. In general, this is it for Module 8, as it was pretty basic, but let's continue on with Module 9. I tend to call Module 9 the administrative one, as the tasks that we were asked to do are mainly based on formatting and setting the controls of the workbook. It is also efficient to know these little tricks, as they help the user be more efficient while using the time shortcuts in its work. In this module, we learn how to create an index, custom categories in the navigation pane, to quickly add the name address fields in a table, and to include outside information text data into an access table. Then, we also saw how to create a more extended navigation form and how to choose one table, report, or form to open first. As you can see from the list I just gave you, that Module 9 is basically small, unrelated tools that help you be more efficient. Of course, you could just do the long way to get there, but what is the fun in this, and how can you call yourself an expert if this is your way of dealing with difficulties? Wow, this looks like a sentence that a teacher of mine would use. All of these aspects are individual tools that help the user push his efficiency further than ever while using Access. If we look for a quick minute at what I did for Module 9, we can see that I divided my videos and tutorials into 3 parts. The first one is really based on creating custom categories to classify the tables, forms, and queries. In this section, you do not create any content but focus more on the administration of the data. I believe that it is important to classify files because it allows you to work more efficiently and in a more productive manner in your work. Teachers have told us that organized people succeed better in school. Well, that also applies to businesses and professionals. Then, the second small task that I did is to assign a form as the one to be opened first when the database opens. This is not something that many people find necessary to do, but I believe that it is important to do so when creating a database that other employees will use on a daily basis. Naming a file to open first will ensure that employees focus on entering the necessary information in the exact form. Then, I did many small administrative tasks that I thought that were related to Module 9, such as using the analyzer, changing the field properties, changing indexes information, and creating the name address field in a table. This pretty well sums up, for now, Module 9, and we will continue by evaluating what's important to remember in Module 10. For the last part of my video, I'm going to talk about Module 10. Module 10 is related to SQL code. Wow, during my internship this summer, I learned a lot about programmers and code-related jobs. I always thought that it was something really complicated and difficult to understand. Although, the way that SQL code is presented in Module 10 makes it look really easy and merely fun to do. But now, you may ask, why should one create an SQL code for other purposes than coding a website? Then I would answer that in Access, we use it to create formulas that will result in an equation. If, for example, I want to know what employees are paid more than a certain standard, I can create a query so that the Access database will compute the equation and create a new table with the exact content that I have said that I wanted. Creating queries based on an SQL code is much easier than to look up information in a really big and complicated database. Big corporations and companies have enormous databases that are filled with plenty of complicated to find information. Then, if one knows how to manage an Access database, they can compute queries to create tables of results for the equation that they have entered as an SQL code. Another positive aspect of creating a query is that you do not have to repeat the same steps over and over and over again. The database will allow you to save the information as a query. This way, the management team can be sure to have access to the extraction of the information. Always. Then, if we look at what I have created for Module 10 in my project, an Access project, I have created a multitude of queries, such as the one that includes only a certain list of fields, one that has text as a main criterion, one that uses a numeric criterion, and one that uses a negation not in its equation. All of the queries created for the project are not purposeless, as they allow the management of my company to easily access information and to not have to do research all over again. To add more content, I have added queries using all fields, deleting duplicates, and one that analyzes in descending order. For more information, I highly recommend that you take a look at the new and updated version of my blog on my website. You can find many helpful tutorials and other information. All right, we have now finished the third subject of Microsoft 365. Wow. Evaluating how Word, Excel, and Access can help management teams and companies work more efficiently has really proven to us that there is a way to work better and faster when we know how to use the technology that surrounds us. As we talked about Access in this particular video, I can tell you that when I was in my first semester of CEGEP, I was terrified of the software. Now that I'm completing my first semester and my third computer class, I can say that I now master the software. And I can even say, not that loud because a certain teacher might hear me, but I know how to manage an Access database, and it's merely fun. To conclude this project, I advise all of you who are still listening at this point to go check on my website. It may be I'm not doing advertising for my own website, no, but it might be the best information you can get out there. On the blog, you can find 11 2-minute tutorial video, plenty of relevant articles relating to 3D printing, the running shoe community, the hemp technology and its rise in the world, and other relevant subjects. And again, as I conclude my project, I'm eager to present what I think of PowerPoint in a future video.